Today on Locked On Red Wings, Scotty and I are going to talk about that exciting win over the Tampa Bay Lightning that happened at Amalie Arena last night.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's also host over at Locked On Tigers. I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. Scotty, felt good today. Good vibes only this evening, especially when you consider that the Red Wings didn't have Dylan Larkin. They still managed to go out there and beat Tampa Bay, who is honestly fighting for playoff positioning right now. They've already clinched a spot, but they're fighting for positioning right now. You go to their home, you go to their arena, you beat them 4-3 when you haven't beaten them all season long. It's a good feeling. Good feeling.
It's a great feeling, man. It was a fun game, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll get into all the intricacies and stuff, but just on a pure entertainment standpoint, it was a fun game to watch, and it's always fun when you take down, the back-to-back a team not named Lightning hasn't won the Stanley Cup in 3 years now. So kind of cool, even if they aren't, this overpowering, by far best team in hockey for the regular season this year. It's still cool to say, put up a good fight and beat a damn good team. So it was a fun night for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're literally recording right after the game ended. But before we get into a deep dive on all the things that went right and wrong in this game, they did mention on the broadcast, give us more information on Dylan Larkin's injury. Apparently, Scotty, he had been injured since right after the All-Star break. And, I mean, that just tends to correlate with everything going on this season. I mean, you look at the point production of him and the point production of Bertuzzi and the team's overall play, it all seems to take a downturn right around that time, and that's right around the time that Larkin got injured. Now, I'm not trying to correlate the entirety of the team's downturn in play ability being because Larkin got hurt, but that had to have had a massive impact. And just before we started recording, I compared his pre-All-Star performance and his post-All-Star performance, and he had 18 points in 26 games post-All-Star break, so February 17th until now. And before that, he was well above a point per game. As I try and pull that up one more time real quick here for you guys.
Dylan Larkin.
Dylan Larkin. In 44 games played, he had 49 points. So he's 5 points above 500, or 5 points above a point per game before the All-Star break, and then only 18 points the rest of the way in 26 games played. So clearly that injury was nagging him. But despite that, he was still the best player on this team, at least the best player on offense. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into the end of the season here for him.
Absolutely, and that I'm sure that did affect him quite a lot, enough to where he couldn't. Nobody felt comfortable with him playing the last 5-6 games of the year. I think. Let's just get him healthy, man. We already talked about that yesterday, all the, ins and outs of what the injury means to him and the team and stuff. But it really is, the team was performing well and got off to a little bit of a hot start and had a nice first half. And he wanted to keep playing and keep riding that momentum and tough it out. And that is, again, to add on to yesterday's point, why he is the captain of the Detroit Red Wings.
And not to get back into, again, what we had talked about yesterday, but it's also very you had this discourse going on Twitter about Dylan Larkin's play and why he shouldn't be captain and stuff like that. And a lot of people defended it. So I'm not just saying there's one side. There's the side that was defending it, and obviously you and I were on that side. But then it comes out oh, yeah, he's been injured since the All-Star break. It's oh, okay, well, now these people are definitely, despite all this hate he's been getting, he was playing hurt this entire time, and he was still putting up decent numbers while doing so. So obviously, it just reached a point where the team didn't have any left.
Point a game for a while after the All-Star until literally a week ago.
He finished the season just 2 points under a point per game.
Yeah.
And They
So
threw that little stat card up there that he was like this close to breaking all his career highs, and like he had to rub salt in the wound with that. Like, come on now. But phenomenal season on Larkin, and it got to a point where there's nothing left to be gained by him possibly injuring himself worse by continue playing, especially when at this point they're not playing for anything but jobs and contracts. You know, they're not playing for a playoff spot. They're not playing for the Stanley Cup at this point.
Yeah, completely agree. Like I said, we kind of talked about that a lot yesterday, but I am, Larkin's got that dog in him. He did
He's got the dog.
he did play after, with the injury and all through that, and that's why he's the captain.
So moving on to the game itself, though, Scotty, there's a lot of really cool things to talk about. And that is also a weird feeling to have. It feels like a lot lately we've just been, talking about the bad things. And the bad things were still present in this game, but we were able to once outperform those bad things. Where do you want to lead off? I mean, I got stuff about Seider. I got stuff about Vrana.
I want to lead
stuff
off
about
with
Greiss.
Vrana. That's what I was about to bring up had you not asked me what we were going to talk about. So let's just kick off with Vrana, because what a guy. What a guy Jakub Vrana is. 2 goals. I mean, the defensive masterpiece. The defense leads to good offense. Everybody knows the old adage, and it certainly did for him tonight.
I'm really curious because I mentioned it during the game and in a tweet, and I haven't looked it up. I'm going to look it up live while we're recording. But if I'm correct, that is Jakub Vrana's. Oh, that is Jakub Vrana's 4th. I think it is. Yeah, that is Jakub Vrana's 4th 2-goal game so far this season.
Wow.
So we've always known people have been calling him a streaky player, but like he's streaky in the best way. Like he either gets, a 1 point via an assist, 1 goal, or he's scoring 2 goals. Like he has tied the Red Wings franchise record for fewest games it has taken to reach 20 goals. And he ties that with, and I had that Twitter tweet pulled up. Again, man, I have to go back and find these things. Not prepared. Let's see what happens when we record right after.
Jakub Vrana, he's a hockey player.
But he ties Danny Grant for fewest games it takes, which is 32 games.
How many?
32 games to reach 20 goals as a Red Wing. That goes back to obviously last season.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And
he's a dog, man. And I think the wildest part is that he can score from anywhere on the ice. Like he's very much not like the slot is his spot, and that's where he's going to post up and score a lot of his goals, or like Bertuzzi, where most of them are just like from wreaking havoc in front of the net, or he's a breakaway guy where it's just like one-on-one is where it's coming from, or in the circles or whatever. Like he is scoring from everywhere and in every situation consistently.
How about Jakub Vrana as well? Like, I mean, just to further the point that how good he was in this game. I mean, he had an expected goals for percentage in this one of 70.61. When he was on the ice,
not bad.
Yeah, he helped.
Not bad.
When he was on the ice, the team generated 70% of the quality scoring attempts.
Certainly.
Meanwhile, his relative was 30%. So he was on fire this entire game. He was a 30% positive impact on the ice compared to his line mates. Like, that is incredible. He was absolutely on one.
Not bad. Yeah, no that's a pretty decent game, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just what you said about him, he is capable of scoring everywhere on the ice. People were saying all he does is score goals. I'm like, no, he gets assists too, and not quite at the rate. Like, he's not like a 50-50 player. He's still going to score way more goals than he's going to have assists, but he has been just absolutely stellar all season long in this shortened season. Now he's got 17 points in 21 games played so far. And this is a guy you put on the third line at times, and he's still able to produce. He's just been an absolute treat for Red Wings fans all season so far this year, and the 10 games they had him last year. He could possibly be, a bona fide top line or second line winger, sniper, elite player at that position.
Do you think on opening night you slot him in on the left side for top line
next year?
Mm-hmm. Opening night.
So.
Opening night. You bring somebody else from the outside in, or are you just going, we're riding with Vrana this year?
With all he has shown that he can provide offensively, I'd say absolutely put him up there.
I'd be pumped with a Raymond, Larkin, Vrana top line, and then Bert, Fabry.
Line?
Yeah, maybe just Guelph too. I mean, we'll see what happens with Suter and Bertut. Bertuzzi.
Bertut.
That's his name. With his contract and everything. So we got an offseason ahead of us for sure. But I would not mind a top line on opening night next year of Raymond, Larkin, and Vrana.
And I would hope that, obviously I hope that they get something a little bit more consistent at the second line there. No offense to Pius Suter, but, on most contending teams, he's a third line center at best. But, that Guelph Storm line was really good when they were together. So if this is the roster, but under the, under the assumption, we are going with assuming, under the assumption that Pius Suter's the center going forward next season too for line 2, that Guelph Storm line's pretty dynamic. So I'm okay with putting Vrana on the first line, Bertuzzi on the second line.
Fine by me.
Got to talk to you guys today about HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make your home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Ingredients travel from farm to your doorstep under a week so they can arrive always fresh, all without a trip to the grocery store or farmer's market. Pick up favorites from 50 different weekly options and skip weeks when you need to. Change your delivery date or update your preferences all in the HelloFresh app. And I've used HelloFresh personally. I really have. I used it a couple years ago when I first moved in with my roommates, and we were pretty dependent on it. I'm not gonna lie, we were 3 guys living together, so we were pretty dependent on that stuff, not to eat fast food every single day. And there were meals that, like they said, were delivered right to your doorstep. They're in a refrigerated box. All their ingredients were fresh. The meals were delicious and they were easy to make, and they were like healthy too. It hit all those major food groups. If you got a burger or steak or salmon or tilapia, we've gotten all those things. Pork chops, we got those. You always had asparagus, green beans, broccoli, stuff like that, and it was always prepared. They always said you prepare it in a way that tasted really, really good. So if you're like me and you're not very fond of going grocery shopping and you're not very fond of cooking, get HelloFresh because they take the guesswork out of it, guys. They genuinely do. Go to HelloFresh.com/lockdown16 and use code lockdown16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/lockdown16 and use code lockdown16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are talking about and breaking down that Red Wings 4-3 win without the captain, Dylan Larkin. I think, you know what? I think we have to talk about, too, because yesterday we talked about who we wanted to see slotted in on that center line, that first center line. And Blashill threw Joe Veleno up there, at least to start the game. And Veleno, to my surprise, actually played pretty damn good in this game. He actually had the third best expected goals for percentage on the team in this game of 70.61 relative 30. He actually, against a loaded Scotty Tampa Bay Lightning team, looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody looked too good the first 10 minutes of the game, but after that, I thought he noticeably looked a lot better. And I thought, like I said, I think a lot of people looked a lot better after that 10 or 15 minute mark, or 10 or 15 minutes had gone off the clock there in the first period. But yeah, no, and I'm at this point in the season, I am all for giving the young kids
Let's experiment
as many minutes as possible. Not going to hear any disagreement from me, even if it is against the Big Bad Lightning. I'm totally fine with that. So yeah, very pleased that he performed well, and conceptually very okay with the kids getting as many minutes as you want as well.
Yeah, this is the time of year where you want to experiment and see what people got. We saw it last season. Rasmussen last year proved that he can hang with the big dogs. He had a slow first 3 quarters of the season, and lately he's been playing really well. He had a beautiful breakout pass on that 3-on-1, in which Ernie shot right into the shin pad of the one defender in front of him. But we don't got to talk about that.
Yeah,
it was a nice breakout pass.
Was interesting tonight, that's for sure.
But it was a really beautiful breakout pass by Rasmussen through the legs of a defender from the defensive zone. I mean, these players, at least on the offense, Rasmussen and Veleno are being put, and even Sundqvist, he had a goal tonight. They're being put into,
he had a nice little gritty goal there.
Yeah, these guys are being forced into a position that they're not used to against competition that's better, and they're hanging in there. I won't say they're necessarily playing great, but they're hanging in there with the big guys. I mean, you just beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are already a 100-point team and could quite possibly be in the top 3 in this division. And that's just because the division is so stacked.
Correct. Yeah, no, we do have a really deep and deep and top heavy, honestly, division. But no, I'm all for it. And this also was a surprisingly, I think is fair to say, physical game given the personnel that we had on the ice.
It was going both ways too.
Yeah, for sure. Like this was not a game. If you looked at the Red Wings roster or lines, whatever, going into the night, I'm not sure this was a game that too many people were looking around like, oh, this is going to get like brutal and physical. But here we are. And it was a pretty physical game, especially there at the end of the second and by the third period. It was a pretty heavy game.
So Lindstrom got leveled really hard. Was it Pat Maroon that did that? I can't quite remember who leveled him out.
I think it was either Pat or Corey Perry.
One of those two guys. And Lindstrom was coming around the corner and he was just trying to transition up the ice and he got caught with his head down. And the Tampa Bay Lightning player came on strong and just absolutely laid him out. And at first, my knee-jerk reaction was like, where's the call? But upon replay, man, elbows were tucked, shoulder to chest. Lindstrom just got lit up. And thankfully, Lindstrom managed to keep his head from bouncing off the ice when his helmet flew off, so he was okay. But, man, was that a big hit. And then Mark Stahl leveled his guy out, and then Jake Wollman. Jake Wollman absolutely destroyed.
Leveled.
Oh, man, now I'm forgetting. Who did he level? Oh, it's escaping me. I can't remember his man that he leveled, but he got beat, and then he stuck his hip out and just absolutely destroyed his man. Jake Wollman with an absolute. It wasn't just a physical game, but there were a lot of big hits being thrown. I think Mark Stahl leveled Stamkos, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Stamkos had the one play too, but yeah, it was surprisingly chippy for a game that I don't think anybody, like I said, looking at lines or just looking at like the two teams and where they're at in the season, not too many people expected to be a very chippy game, and it kind of surprisingly was, which I'm totally cool with.
It was fun. It was a fun overall.
And we got to win, so that makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah. It was a fun game. The offense was there. They came alive. The rookies were involved. Obviously, Vrana, Greiss. But let's talk about those rookies, Scotty. I mean, Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond showing up on the stat sheet again in this game. Moritz Seider had the secondary assist on Oscar Sundqvist's goal. And then Lucas Raymond picking the pocket of Sergachev. Or not Sergachev. That was Vrana who picked the pocket of Sergachev. But Lucas Raymond still picked the pocket of the defender to protect the puck coming in the zone. And then came in and sniped it. I mean,
Raymond had
these
game,
rookies, man.
Razor looked good.
He did.
He looked damn good.
It was definitely one of those games where it's like you look at the future of the team. You're like, we're going to be okay. I mean, again, without Dylan Larkin, without Robbie Fabry, your top 6 is neutered. The rookies came out to play. They absolutely came out to play. Joe Veleno came out to play. Lucas Raymond came out to play, and Moritz Seider came out to play. And it's moments like that where you're like, we're going to be okay. We just got to wait for help.
Correct. Very much have to wait for some more reinforcements. But it was a really fun game. And like you said, at any time you win a game on the back of all of your like future pieces, and when they do it against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, it's going to be a fun night.
Or it is going to be a fun night. And I definitely want to also talk about Thomas Greiss's performance.
Yeah, he deserves a shout-out for real.
He absolutely does. He played great in this game. But first, I do got to talk to you guys today about BetOnline.net. They are your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the rest of the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Different inflection that time.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
You know what? I didn't mind it.
You didn't mind it? Okay, cool.
I didn't mind it. It was all right.
It was all right. So, Scotty, as we finish our recap of this Red Wings
BetOnline.
Thank you. You're the best. As we finish this recap of the Red Wings win over the Tampa Bay Lightning, we wanted to shout out Thomas Greiss. He made 38
Deserved.
saves on 41 shots in this game. And he's a guy who's been struggling this year, but he has shown that he's capable of making these kinds of performances. And today it just happened to be one of those ones. And I'm glad it came against Tampa Bay because I'm not a fan of Tampa Bay anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm good on them. Where do you think? I don't think it's with the Detroit Red Wings. I think that's relatively safe to say. What do you think the future of Thomas Greiss's career is at this point?
I mean, he's still a serviceable backup. He's had struggles of late. I think age is starting to show. But I think he's still got another year or two in him. I think there's still teams out there.
I non-ironically think that the Rangers should sign him. Like, seriously. Like,
I mean, I understand.
Look at his numbers at MSG. Like, you don't have to play against him anymore. Like, it seems like a slam dunk in my eyes.
So remember yesterday during live while our recording, I got roasted.
Yes.
What are the chances that Anthony tweets at us while we're recording?
This dude just always knows when we're recording, man.
He goes, I'm glad I could be a part of the live episode.
I'm glad I could be a part of the live episode roasting Brian. And now, again, to start off the third segment here, he has added us right in the middle of recording.
Well, Anthony, now you have gotten 2 shout-outs on 2 back-to-back episodes. Congratulations, buddy.
Impeccable timing by this man.
It turns out, here's the trick, guys. If you want to get mentioned on Locked On Red Wings podcast, just add us sometime in the evening, usually 10 o'clock or after, because that's usually when we record.
Yeah,
there's the trick. Late. Especially if you want to roast me, because Scotty will definitely bring that up mid-recording.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But back to Thomas Greiss. One thing to be noted in this game is the all three of his goals. Let me restart that. All 3 of his goals actually came from medium danger and low danger shots against, which is something that we are used to seeing. Mm-hmm. But he was able in the high danger situations make all the saves, which is really the ones that are going to count. So he may have I'd say he let one softie in for sure, but he made all the saves that count the most with a .925 save percentage in this game. So it's really important to just shout out Thomas Greiss when he has a great performance. It doesn't mean much, but I shout out Thomas Greiss because he had a great game.
At this point, he did have a great game, and at this point, he's playing for another year in the league, man.
He's fighting for a job.
Yeah, like he's playing for a job, maybe an extra couple $1,000 too. Like he's playing for something. So, yeah, shout out Thomas Greiss. He looked really good, and like you said, we have seen him show out this year, and I still think that he has the ability to be a serviceable backup, especially if you put him behind a significantly better defense than that of the Detroit Red Wings in the 2021-2022 season. So I still think there's something there, and that's what he's playing for at this point. So big ups.
Also noticed that Nedeljkovic was not on the roster tonight. He was scratched with an illness. Magnus Hellberg was the backup the first time. I noticed he's a very handsome
we brought
man.
Him in.
Not hockey related, but he is a handsome man.
He is a handsome man.
So
he's a stunner, man.
Yes, I really want to see him get a start though, Scotty. I really want to see what he's got in him, and I hope he does get a start here before the end of the season because I kind of just
want it just for like the meme ability.
Because what was the
hey, remember that time we signed a dude to start one game? That was sick.
Remember when we signed a guy with 9 games remaining in the season when both of our goaltenders were healthy? Like the report was Nedeljkovic was sick, and unless he was sick a few days ago and played through it, why did we sign him?
Right.
Because he's not down in Grand Rapids, who actually needs the help goaltending wise. So I still don't know why they signed Magnus Hellberg.
It would just be really funny if like he was able to start one game and then just get like a shutout.
I need to see those pads in action.
Huh?
I need to see those pads in action.
Yeah, man. Oh, sick pads.
Dude, those
sick pads.
Absolutely stunner. But yeah, that was something I noticed too. Felt the need to bring up. Wasn't really an impact in this game, but I am advocating a Magnus Hellberg start because why the hell not?
Yeah,
why the hell not?
Let's do it. Why not?
One thing I forgot to mention though too when talking about Seider, Scotty, is that, and I want to ask you if this is a cherry picked stat or not, but the broadcast talked about Moritz Seider's plus minus is 75th amongst defensemen this season. But when you take out all the empty net goals he has been on the ice for, because he leads the league in empty net goals against, his plus minus jumps to like plus 10, I believe, after this game, which would have him leading rookies. So is taking out the empty net goals against a cherry pick stat?
I mean, it might be, but like I don't think so. And the reason Nolan and I were on this train, have been on this train for a while, and like I don't think empty net goals should even count as like goals in your individual stat line. Like I don't. I think it's I don't know, or like maybe a different stat. Like you have like goals, and then you have empty net goals are like their own thing on like the back of a hockey card. Like I think it's ridiculous that empty net goals are even counted within like plus minus and goals scored and stuff like that. So I don't think it's that cherry picked, because I am
it's not even
anti,
strength.
right, because I am anti empty netter as is, as far as stats go. So
Well,
I don't think so. I think that's a great stat. And also, what's the first rule with statistics? It only matters if it helps your narrative. So like, yeah, absolutely.
I like that. I don't think I've ever
Fantastic
heard that. I've never heard that saying before.
Oh, well, that's like the first rule of analytics right there.
Wow.
It's only a good analytic if it helps your narrative.
I like that. No, but first of all, like this is the reason why so many hockey fans hate plus minus, because it never tells the real story of what's going on.
Yeah,
because
ever.
plus minus is just a team stat, and then it varies on what counts as a plus and what counts as a minus from
Correct.
situation to situation, as you just said. But because it does help my narrative, Scotty, I will say that I am in favor of them taking out the empty net goals, because the empty net goals really just, I mean, the amount of empty net goals he's been on the ice for just shows how many times this team has been behind in games trying to catch up.
Yes.
It really shows how bad of a team he's on. If you take those out, you see the positive impact that he has had, at least at the team level. Maybe not individually, but because it's an overall team stat. The fact that he's a plus 10 now, with those empty net goals removed, means that he is helping generate 10 more goals than against, if you want to try and make it as rational as possible.
Yeah,
So
well, also
definitely
like
great to see.
what could he have done to like prevent those? Like at the end of the day,
It's
like
so hard to prevent empty net goals.
right.
It's an all or nothing thing.
Unless you're Bertuzzi, like it's, and you're just basically a makeshift goalie when the goalie gets pulled. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not something that as a defenseman you should be getting heat for. And I mean, plus minus is already a whack stat as is, honestly. And I think as we get more and more advanced with our analytics, more and more people are realizing that. But that specific stat very much helps all of the city of Detroit's narrative. So it's a great stat in my eyes.
Oh, sick. Okay, so they just updated the stat cards as we were talking just now. So let's throw that up real quick, because I love the hockey impact cards. I love them so much.
Are we going to be able to see them?
That is I know there's been an issue, guys, on YouTube. So we're able to see them when we're talking, and I share screen.
I was gonna say we didn't realize that they were blank until somebody pointed it out, because I can see them right now and Brian can see them right now.
So one thing to note is we actually had a handful of players have a positive defensive impact in this game,
which is a
there
miracle.
Are 5 players that have a positive, and that's so sad that 5 players having a positive defensive impact is exciting for us.
It's also so like 5. It's not like, oh, they were like over 1 or like plus 3s. Like they are just they're just positive. Like they're a hair above 0.
Yeah. So Jakub Vrana obviously having 2 goals was a positive. He was positive offensively and individually, but also a positive impact defensively, which is something you don't see from Jakub Vrana very often. He's generally a offense first kind of guy, but he helped defensively in this game as well. Philip Zadina had a good game all the way around, and he got an assist on one of the Vrana goals. One of those guys we didn't mention, Pius Suter, had a pretty good game. Lucas Raymond had a good game as well. We already know that. Talked about that. Moritz Seider had a great game. And then there's Joe Veleno, yet again. He's the 5th and final guy with nothing but 100% positive impact in this game, and you love to see that.
And that's right. And that was at least starting off the game as 1C.
Yeah. And that's
beauty.
to do that against the Tampa Bay Lightning is huge, and that's got to be a huge confidence booster for Joe Veleno.
Zadina with no negative impact at anything either.
Yeah, I mean that's just you got. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you some inside knowledge right here, and by inside knowledge, I'm going to say something very no duh. You got the best games out of the players you want to get the best games out of tonight. I mean, Jakub Vrana, Filip Zadina, maybe not Pius Suter, but Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, Joe Veleno. Those are guys you want to be part of your core when this team is competitive. And every single one of those players provided nothing but support in this game. That is incredibly promising. It's one of the rare games, Scotty, where I can say this team looked promising. It's felt like a long time that we've been able to say that. But the guys that matter played well.
I completely agree. And we've reiterated a few times, but the fact that, like you said, it was a lot of the young core and the core going forward that was able to do it makes it all that much sweeter.
Can we also talk about how funny Jake, a.k.a. Jack Wallman's stat card is?
Yes. Wow.
I mean, look at that.
Wow.
That's huge. I mean, that's Jake Wallman.
That's something. That's
Jake Wallman is an offensive defenseman through and through. He plays the back end, but he doesn't know how to play defense. But man, is he going to contribute in the offensive zone?
Yes, I mean certainly. That's an unbelievable. That's an unbelievable card, man.
Before we wrap things up, I think it is also appropriate to talk about the things that went wrong in this game. And that, of course, is the same thing that always persists. Another game where you gave up 40-plus shots. You are playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, but still, that's what, your fourth game in a row where you've given up 40-plus shots. Never good. Based on your face right now, I'd imagine the Yankees just scored a run in the top of the ninth inning. I was checking at one point as well.
That's tough, man. Damn.
But... yeah, the problems persist. Again, they came out flat. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning had an expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 of 85% in the first period.
Yeah, the first period was brutal, man.
Yeah.
The fact that we got out of that only down one is a miracle.
Yeah.
We got outplayed and outclassed in the first.
But what's crazy is after that, the next two periods, the Red Wings actually led in expected goals for percentage in the second and the third period. Just by a hair in the second, but in the third period, they had 70% of the quality scoring attempts in that game. That's pretty good. The Red Wings offensively were creating scoring chances. And I mean like breakaways, 3-on-1s, like stuff you don't see from them that much anymore. And again, they did that with so much of their core talent not being there. So I don't know if it's the Tampa Bay Lightning having a bad game or if the Red Wings just played above their skill level today. Could have been both. But it was nice to see, despite that the weaknesses that are always occurring, they outplayed that in a pretty significant matter.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. For those who aren't watching, Scotty and I were just idiots. You have any final thoughts, man?
We ball.
You know what? We're at 33 minutes recording right now. I'm going to throw up the shot chart from this game as well because I do want. There's just so much nowadays, Scotty, that I just constantly want to bring up. This is interesting to me because the Red Wings had a lot of scoring chances from right in front of Vasilevsky in this game, and that's something they don't get a lot.
The offensive side's not bad. It's just that the defensive side is not much better than it usually is.
No, and I didn't bring this up to bring that up because it's what it is. It's what to be expected. But it's just the sheer amount of scoring chances the Red Wings had from inside the slot there was a little bit abnormal, again, against a really good Tampa Bay Lightning team. So I just wanted to give them props for that. I mean, their expected goals in this game was 3.42. So they still outperformed what should have happened given the chances they were getting. And the Tampa Bay Lightning underperformed that with a 3.91 expected goals. But it was even. This is venue adjusted at 5-on-5. Actually, I think this might be at all circumstances. Strength all. So this is just venue adjusted. So the fact that Red Wings had 3.42 expected goals and the Tampa Bay had 3.91 says that despite the Red Wings defense, again, being kind of a problem in this game, they hung with the Tampa Bay Lightning all the way through the end.
The offense looked good, man. A lot of opportunities created.
I've been finding a lot of different ways of saying it was a fun game today.
It was. No, it was. It was. It's important to reiterate because not a lot of them are at this point in the season. So it was nice. Nice change of pace.
Yeah. So now I'm done. But on rare games like this, Scotty, where they're playing good, I just want to reiterate it as many times as possible.
Absolutely. We'll take it, baby.
We'll take it. It was a fun game. Scotty and I will be back with a game preview tomorrow, right? Red Wings play on Thursday. Yes, game preview tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.